violent supercell storm formed, where warm and cold air collided, giving birth to...
The air grew heavy. Heat and humidity filled the sky. Dark clouds raced forward, warning signs no one yet under...
In just minutes, nearly 90% of the town was destroyed. Families were lost.
New Richmond rose again, reminding us that while nature is powerful, the human spirit endures.
The 1899 New Richmond Tornado, the true story of a town reduced to ruins. On June 12, 1899, the small town of New Richmond in the U.S. state of Wisconsin was a quiet and industrious community. The town depended largely on agriculture, the lumber trade, and the railroad. With a population of nearly 3,000, no one could have imagined that within just a few hours, New Richmond would become the site of one of the most devastating natural disasters in American history. The beginning of unusual weather, the day began with unusually hot and humid conditions. The sky felt heavy, and there was a noticeable pressure in the air. By midday, dark clouds began racing in from the west, and calm winds slowly turned into powerful gusts. Many residents sensed that something was wrong, but in an era without modern weather forecasting, no one could fully grasp the magnitude of the danger approaching. The birth of the tornado. By the afternoon, a violent storm system formed in western Wisconsin. The collision of warm, moist air with a cold air mass created a supercell thunderstorm, which gradually evolved into a massive tornado. This tornado was later classified as an F5, the most violent category on the Fujita scale. Once the tornado touched the ground, it grew in strength as it moved eastward, destroying everything in its path. Trees were ripped from the ground, farmhouses collapsed, and livestock were hurled into the air. Even then, many in New Richmond had not yet realized the full terror that was racing toward them. The strike on New Richmond, at approximately 5 o'clock in the evening, the tornado struck New Richmond directly. Within moments, the town was transformed into a scene of devastation. Winds estimated at nearly 300 kilometers per hour tore homes from their foundations. Wooden houses collapsed instantly, and brick buildings were smashed into rubble. The railroad station was completely destroyed. Railcars were thrown hundreds of feet away. Schools, shops, and churches were wiped out, nothing was spared. The heart of the town was effectively erased from the map. Fear, chaos, and human desperation. Survivors later described the sound of the tornado as terrifying, like thousands of trains roaring at once. People ran desperately for shelter. Some hid in basements, others in wells, and many simply lay flat on the ground. But the tornado's fury was so overwhelming that even places of refuge often failed to protect them. Though the destruction lasted only a few minutes, those moments became an everlasting nightmare in the history of New Richmond. Unimaginable destruction and loss. When the tornado finally passed, the town was nearly unrecognizable. Approximately 90% of all buildings were destroyed or severely damaged. Official records list 117 deaths, though many historians believe the true number may have been higher. More than 200 people were injured. Entire families were wiped out. Children, women, and the elderly were among the victims. Countless residents were left homeless, and the town's economic foundation was completely shattered. Rescue and relief efforts, in the immediate aftermath, help began arriving from nearby towns and villages. With railroad lines destroyed, rescue efforts faced enormous challenges. Despite this, volunteers, doctors, and nurses risked their lives to care for the wounded. Temporary hospitals and shelters were established, and food supplies were distributed. Donations poured in from across the United States. The total damage was estimated at more than $500,000 at the time, an amount equivalent to many millions of dollars today. Rebuilding the town, despite profound grief, the people of New Richmond refused to surrender. Reconstruction began slowly but steadily. Stronger building designs and improved construction methods were adopted. The lessons learned from this catastrophe played an important role in advancing disaster preparedness and weather monitoring systems in the United States. The place of the New Richmond Tornado in history, the 1899 New Richmond Tornado remains one of the deadliest and most destructive tornadoes in American history. It stands not only as a record of nature's terrifying power, but also as a testament to human vulnerability, resilience, and the will to rebuild. This tragedy reminds us that while humanity is small in the face of nature, the strength to rise again is deeply ingrained in the human spirit.